This is a functionality video for EMEA Smart Site version 4 and accompanies our brochure 7 Steps to Site Service Success. This brochure depicts the 7 steps of information flow in a service relationship and how Smart Site can be used to create a successful working structure. In most service companies, information about the job is recorded in the office and is relayed to the engineer in a mixture of formats, including conventional paperwork, emails and calls to the mobile phone. Smart Site centralises all of that information and delivers it to the hands of the engineer. Step 1. EMEA sends allocated jobs to the engineer. First thing we want to take a look at is the job that has been added to EMEA, 51749. At the top of the window we have the customer, United Performance, the order date of the work, the generic summary of the job, order numbers, references, etc. And you'll see the cost summary over on the right hand side has no information. We just haven't collected anything yet. As we move to the second tab, you'll see that we have allocated this job to 2 engineers, Joe Brown and Simon Brooks. This means that they will both be able to see the job in their copy of Smart Site and also post back important information. You'll notice that we've also defined which safety and service checklist should be completed for the work. In the example of the service checklist, we have added multiple items. In this case, a motor test and a check of the environment have been identified as needed, which we will look at in greater detail later in the video. On the Work Done tab, there may be specific instruction or free text that is needed by the engineer to complete the work. Here, showing the need to speak to an on-site supervisor. This is useful as job details in EMEA may be updated at the time the job is raised or between the time the engineer is issued the work and it taking place. You'll see on the Thumbnails tab a selection of photographs that have been taken on previous visits. This makes it easy for the engineer to recognise the exact item on site, especially useful where multiple assets inhabit one particular location. As you'll see, the engineer can take before and after photographs of the work for later clarity at the invoicing stage. An engineer often needs a little bit more information, and the Files tab allows us to send all relevant information that could be useful. You'll see we've given permission for the document to be seen in Smart Site. Here we have some examples of a vibration analysis report and the delivery note of an item shipped directly to site. Before we send this job over to Smart Site, let's take a look at the setup options. These options allow you to be specific about the way that you work. The first 4 are related to the information that the customer sees on screen when you ask them to sign off the work. The labour and travel time, mileage and materials are all visible if important to you. There is also a safety device to prevent sign-off if the labour for the work hasn't been entered, and you can also defer completion of the job, allowing those in EMEA administration to close it after sign-off. Let's take a look at how we get that job directly onto Smart Site. With Smart Site open, I am entering the username and password of one of the engineers we highlighted in EMEA, J Brown. We happen to be using the same name in the password, but you can have shorter details if you require. By identifying the van registration, EMEA is capable of tracking stock that has been allocated to it. So, we can keep track of our stock and its availability across the company. We are prompted to synchronise the unit now, especially useful if the engineer is located within a strong network or Wi-Fi area, as all our job information, data, pictures and files will now move across to the smartphone. Before we look at the job, let's open the settings and you'll see sync data allows just the textual data to be brought onto the smartphone and sync all against all of the job information and the attachments and the pictures. The rest of the options in this area are app configuration, which displays the setup options in EMEA. The engineer can see what is set but cannot physically change it here on the smartphone. The auto-sync facility simply checks EMEA at a given period of time to ensure that all new jobs are collected and the latest notes and instructions are available. With more reliable 4G and data coverage, this is often the preferred method of connectivity. You'll also see a small reference under the Close button. This is a visual marker to say that an SSL certificate is present and all transactions from SmartSite to EMEA are secure. Our job list is all of the jobs for this engineer, along with the generic information found on the main tab in EMEA. This is the job we viewed in EMEA a few seconds ago, and we're presented now with it in our job menu. The top item Job Info displays the name of the company, the address and postcode for SatNav, the telephone number which can be dialed from here, and a short description of the work. And clicking on the postcode takes us directly into Google Maps for directions. Step 2. Related documents and information. When setting up the job in EMEA, we attached a number of documents to the Files tab. That was vibration analysis and a specific delivery note. So as an engineer using SmartSite, we can scroll down the job menu, click on Documents, and you can see a mirror image of what was uploaded in EMEA. If I open the vibration analysis document, this has opened a PDF format. We can magnify or move the image around the screen, zooming in on the information we really need. Word or Excel documents will work just the same. And the same for the delivery note, of course. This could be any document that is relevant to the job in hand. Step 3. Record time, mileage, expenses and spare parts on the job. If we look at our labour costs, they are empty at the moment. Same with spare parts and with our summary on the main tab. As an engineer on site, let's have a look at how we record time. To add a new time session, click the cross in the top right hand corner. And then I can select from a list defined activity which you have created in EMEA. On this occasion, I am selecting Investigate the Problem and Diagnose Activity, and as you can see, I don't have any free text typing. On the start date, this is defaulted to today, although we could be recording time for what we did yesterday, so it's easy to change. Start time. We can adjust this in 5-minute increments. We actually came in at 1 PM and we just finished the job a moment ago at 2:30 PM. It shows the engineer as Joe Brown, and if we want to record time against Simon Brooks, or both of us, we simply click the name, select and save. And there it is in our time list. If I want to record some more time, we simply repeat the process, set the activity, the date, the activity time, say a 5-minute job, say 2:30 to 2:35, and record that activity. I have 2 lots of time against the job. It's that simple. With the pencil and the dustbin, you are able to amend or delete each item while you are still on site if you've made mistakes before the job is signed off and completed. Record materials. Show all materials. With this unticked, the products shown are the ones that are available from the van you are in. Show all materials allows your entire company stock to be shown. Handy if the item you need is special and not currently held on your van. As we use parts on the job, we simply hit the cross and either type the product code in or use the parts list button. These items are on my van and I can use the fuzzy search facility, type in 608 and the list is reduced to 2 with this variant in the code. Then we select the one that we want and the quantity used, and it's as simple as that. In the same way, we use the menu item to record material and expenses used. I want to record an expense for this trip, so perhaps it's mileage, quantity of miles is 127, and there we are. We have 2 choices now. We can either continue to collect information and work right through to getting the job signed off by the client, or send the information we already have for each operation. Perhaps you work the morning and send off what you've done, or at the end of day 1, it's up to you. Let's go back to settings now, and we can sync with either the data only button or all data as appropriate. We can see the sync is taking place and the information will end up in EMEA. And you can edit save or press F5 to refresh the job. Our cost summary is now populated on the main tab. Our job summary now contains our labour and expenses and spare part costs, and we can now see those broken down in greater detail in the Labour tab. Step 4. Follow or add new activities or notes to the job. In EMEA we set a series of work done codes or free text to tell the engineer what to do, and even though the engineer may still be travelling to the job, I'm going to add another message that gives specific instructions about power isolation. As we save these down, both are available to SmartSite. Back into settings to synchronise, and I'm choosing just to update data only at this time. If I enter record activities, I can see my work done codes entered in EMEA, and I may also add from our predefined list of codes. This again reduces the amount of typing needed or annotation of comments. I'm going to dismantle and clean and replace bearings, and I've added these in and then save. What about those specific time and date recorded notes that have come over from the office now? I was actually signed into EMEA as Joe Brown, the actual engineer, when putting the notes on. I'm going to add my own note which recommends new bearings on my next visit, and save. Of course, as we are coming to the end of the job, you are more likely than not to get the customer to sign off the work before sending. But for the purposes of demonstration, I shall sync the data now. So now we have the date and timed note at the top of the list, recommending the bearing change at the next visit, and an amendment to our work done codes. Step 5. Fill in service and safety checklists. In this system we have set up separate safety checklists. When we set up the job, we allocate which is the appropriate one for the type of work. Let's have a look at it. You'll see that it's a series of questions with yes or no. This is also accompanied by a comments field to allow you to record additional text. It is very easy to build up your checking procedure. If I edit the list, I can add or delete an item or edit an existing one, and I can change the position of the questions, so very easy to build yourself. If we move now to our service checklists, this displays the ones that have been allocated to this job. I can add another from the predefined database simply by pressing Add. For this job I selected Motor Test and Environmental Checklist, and if you remember, these defaults were set on the main number 2 tab in EMEA. Let's see how these work in SmartSite. I've got my job 51749, tap to enter and scroll down to the safety checklists, and as there is only one, it takes me straight into the questions. The first question, lifting equipment required. If yes, enter type as comment. We have the option of yes or no. We'll say yes and enter 10-ton crane. Safe working load? Yes. Confined space procedure apply? No. And I can enter answers against all of these items. So let's now scroll to the bottom now and select Save, and now that's ready to be moved to EMEA. Moving to our service checklist now. This is what I showed you earlier. We have the 2 default choices in the list, our environment checklist and our motor test. We'll select our environment first. You may remember I was able to set the default option on the first question. This was a pass. Is the site clean and clear of debris? Leave this as a yes. Are all fixings maintained and tight? I'm going to put a pass on that one. Is there any visible sign of damage? No, there isn't, so I'll pass this phase. Is the number plate easily defined? Pass. Well, it does need cleaning. Additional information, further work required, no. Is the machine safe to operate? Yes. Chargeable work identified, no. Order number. So the customer gives me an order number at this moment, 8970. I can now save that against the checklist. There is very little typing to be done to record each checklist on SmartSight. The same sort of entry in motor test. Visual inspection pass, thermal map pass, etc. One of the new features is the ability to change the name of the checklist to personalise the entry. Say for instance we come across two motors, you can save down this copy of the checklist with the serial number of the unit. Okay, I'll just save the checklist over here, and now we can synchronise them both back into EMIR. To view what has been recorded, we scroll across the tabs to Site Checklist. We entered information into two checklists, the Environment checklist with all passes and a comment about cleaning, and the motor test where we had a couple of passes. If we right click, we can select the safety checklist. You may remember we had a couple of yeses and a no, and we entered the lifting device in comment 1. So the information is synced straight back to the job and can be printed or emailed to the client along with their signature. Step 6. Review and take relevant photographs of the work. When you set up the job in EMIR, of course you can add photographs from previous visits which may show the location of the unit or last known condition. Photographs are always useful and may aid your engineers if they share clients. We can select our motor unit, look at the picture and zoom in on particular aspects. We can also label the image for more clarity. This could be motor in second location. This now appears underneath. Or we can take photographs or load them from the phone library. I have the AEMT logo here that says we are proud to sponsor. I can view that and zoom in. Then in the same way that we have throughout this demonstration, we can sync back the data and importantly now the pictures into the EMIR application. Photos are now in EMIR as thumbnails with the EMIR logo as a PNG graphic. Then onto the Photos tab, remember the motor that I labelled for them. Step 7. Get customer sign-off and send live information to your EMIR system. We've always had the option in EMIR to use the job summary against the job and inquiries to tell the customer what activities, time and materials have been used on the job. When the customer is satisfied, we move to the Main tab, Edit and Complete and invoice the client. Before we commence this procedure in SmartSight, a feature we do have in Setup Options is that we can allow the SmartSight user to complete the job in front of the customer. The alternative method is that after sign-off is that the job remains open, allowing the office users to amend or add additional elements before this happens. So we've got to the end of the job and we're going to take our customer through the detail of what we've done. The last item in the menu is Obtain Customer Signature. It's easy to read the engineer, the company we are dealing with, dates, order numbers, etc. And of course, in the options we wanted to show everything to the customer: labour, travel, time, mileage, the problem and the work done. We can also click the Show Materials button for a full list of spare parts used. The customer is happy and it's time to sign off the job. Type the name, then sign on the screen before accepting. In our setup, I'm going to complete the job, answering the question, was the repair successful? I'm going to put serviceable, and the job is now highlighted with a complete icon. This means that when the job has been sent to the office, it will disappear from the engineer's handset. We leave the client and synchronise or allow the auto sync process to take place, and the job has disappeared from the job list. As we refresh EMEA, we can see the completion date of the 3rd of September. So 3 reasons to use SmartSite. Number 1, structured and paperless. SmartSite records work done in a tidy and timely fashion. Project timescales and accurate invoicing are achieved by the elimination of paper-based processes. Number 2, synchronise with EMEA. SmartSite removes the delay associated with manual entry using the smartphone to relay the latest information on the job directly into EMEA. Number 3, simple to use and cost effective. The smartphone device is already used as a communication and navigation tool. SmartSite extends the smartphone capability to the site engineer in the field. If you would like to know more about SmartSite or any of the EMEA products, call or email us today.